meeting that we saw?
Well, it is significant because it shows that Egypt also wants an arrangement, a kind of a ceasefire with Hamas. Don't forget that the Egyptian government is also imposing a blockade, a military blockade on the Gaza Strip. And Egypt is also responsible in a way for the fate of the Gaza Strip. And Israel and the current Egyptian government are cooperating regarding Gaza. There's a peace agreement between Israel and Egypt. So there is cooperation between the two countries. The real question is now, what is going to be the nature, the content of this agreement? Many in Israel criticize this agreement with Hamas, saying it goes too far. And it doesn't demand from Hamas to return Israel soldiers that are still captured, their bodies in the Gaza Strip. But despite this criticism, it looks like the government and Benjamin Netanyahu, the prime minister, seem to be determined to implement this agreement. And there's here a common interest, I think, between Egypt and Israel.
Talk a bit about Palestinian reconciliation, because Egypt also has an interest in seeing that happen. But at the same time, they have a problem with Hamas. Does this agreement, does this conversation deal with possible reconciliation in any way?
The Palestinian Authority is not involved at all in those talks between Israel.
But they would like to be.
They would like to be, but they're not. They're irrelevant. Mahmoud Abbas is completely irrelevant in those talks. He knows it. He's very upset about it. But he has lost control of the Gaza Strip already over 10 years ago when Hamas took control of the Gaza Strip by force over 10 years ago. There have been attempts to share power between Hamas and Fatah, but it never holds. It always falls apart because they never agree really on this power sharing. And in this agreement that has been inked between Israel, Hamas, and Egypt, even though Israel doesn't want to call it an agreement, but more an understanding, Mahmoud Abbas is completely left out, completely irrelevant. He knows it. Everybody knows it. And it goes to show also, by the way, something about the future maybe of an arrangement with Israel, between Israel and the Palestinians, that there is already a de facto separation between the Gaza Strip politically and the West Bank.
Talk about U.S. Middle East envoy Jason Greenblatt and also Special Advisor Jared Kushner, because the U.S. in many ways is blocked from any negotiations that would occur. The Palestinians don't want anything to do with that. Is there a chance that the U.S., with Greenblatt, with Kushner, may play an expanding role sometime in the future?
Well, there have been talks recently about this new peace plan that the U.S. administration wants to submit, saying that both sides will be unhappy about it. But one thing needs to be said about the advisors of the Trump administration about the peace process, of the lack of a peace process in the Middle East, is that they've pointed to the issue of UNRWA and the so-called refugees, saying if you want to advance and to reach some kind of agreement in the future, UNRWA has to be dismantled, and it can be that the Palestinians continue to define as refugees third generations of the descendants of refugees of 1948. And I think they've been changing completely the discourse about the conflict. And this, I think, is welcome. Also, they've been mentioning the fact that if the Palestinians are not able to have any kind of political unity, as we've just discussed, then we'll have to see, maybe for Gaza, we'll have to reach an agreement between Israel, the Gazans, and Egypt without any connection to the Palestinian Authority. And the West Bank will be a separate issue that might be discussed together with Jordan.
And of course, the big question is, will the agreement hold? Let's shift gears. We're going to turn to the United States, where